week on Healthy Living, we highlight some of the unique stories of 2023. We look at an organization's efforts to fight skin cancer among people with albinism in Zimbabwe. And we explore menopause and andropause with the stories of two seniors in Cameroon. These stories and more in this edition of Healthy Living. Hello, I'm Linor Moudou. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Healthy Living. As the year 2023 comes to an end, we look back at some of the stories that were of particular interest for many of you, our viewers. We start in Zimbabwe, where a charity group is raising funds for a basic product that can be critical for people living with albinism: sunscreen. The group called the Noble Hands of Zimbabwe released a report in September saying 1 in 3 people with albinism in Zimbabwe die of skin cancer before the age of 40, including children as young as 8. Columbus Mavunga has more from Harare, Zimbabwe.
A September report by the charity organization, the Noble Hands Zimbabwe, says 1 in 3 people living with albinism in Zimbabwe die before they reach 40 due to skin cancer. Now Marvelous Chuma, a musician with albinism, is helping the non-profit group raise funds for a simple but life-saving resource: sunscreen.
Many people with albinism stay in the rural areas, and most of them spend the better part of the day in the sun working in the fields. That exposes their skin and it gets damaged. They don't have the chemicals to tame the heat, so that the skin is not burnt off.
Loveness Mainato is a mother of 4, 2 of them living with albinism.
So the sunscreen lotions are expensive, the cheapest tube being 15 US per 200 milliliter tube. So it has been quite difficult to have access to sunscreen lotions.
Mainato hopes things will improve now that the government-funded University of Zimbabwe is manufacturing sunscreen lotions. Joichi Famba is a nano-pharmaceutical scientist and professor at the University of Zimbabwe. He says their lotion will protect people and cost less.
In Zimbabwe, a typical sunscreen, for example, the leading brands, I can't mention the names, but they cost between 10 and 20 US dollars per bottle. But our unit of solar guard is just going for about 5 to 6 US dollars.
According to the World Health Organization, albinism is a hereditary condition in which little or no melanin is produced, causing a lack of pigmentation in the skin, eyes, and hair. Lack of pigmentation, which protects the skin from radiation from the sun, can leave one vulnerable to skin cancer, says the UN Health Agency. Early detection allows professionals to better treat diseases such as skin cancer, says the WHO, resulting in fewer deaths. Columbus Mavunga, VOA News, Harare, Zimbabwe.
The physiological transitions of menopause and andropause, though natural, bring forth various challenges, both physical and emotional. VOA's Emmanuel Jounstab explore how 1 woman and 1 man in Cameroon are living with the hormonal changes.
Mirabelle Dehi is returning from the market where she went to buy women's clothing to resell in her neighborhood. The 64-year-old woman says menopause has not stopped her.
I can still remarry. There are many suitors despite these wrinkles. Nothing has changed in me. Someone proposed to me recently, but I said no as we have some problems. When someone flirts with me, I feel like I'm still alive.
At the age of 50, the former hotel employee saw her life as a woman change because of menopause.
I had hot flashes from time to time. Then one day when I was off from work, I bled a lot. It was from that moment that my periods stopped until now.
Dehi says the biological transition went smoothly.
I didn't think about going to the hospital. If the bleeding had continued the next day, I would have gone to the hospital. Given that it stopped, I understood it was menopause. It is psychological.
It's not often thought about, but men also experience similar hormonal changes. At the age of 55, this retired former railway employee noticed the first signs of andropause, sometimes referred to as menopause.
After the first symptoms, I spoke to my doctor at work. I was still working for the railway company at the time. The doctor told me that it was normal. He explained that the organs in the body behave just like when you get tired after a walk, because at a certain age, the male genital organ can rest momentarily and get back up again.
The U.S. National Institute of Health defines andropause as a syndrome associated with a decrease in sexual satisfaction or a decline in a feeling of general well-being with low levels of testosterone in older men. At 67 years, Njok remains open to sexual activity.
Even now, I still have sexual desires. The desire goes away when you die. Even now, well, that's how it is.
However, at the beginning of andropause, Njok and his partner had to communicate about the situation.
The woman knows her man. When the virility declined, she felt it. She even asked what was happening, saying I was sexually very active before, but now it is less frequent.
Nevertheless, Njok resorted to traditional medicine.
There are bags that can help. I went to the village and did a colon cleansing because one of my advisors told me that the decline in virility is due to the accumulation of toxins in the pelvis. I did a detox and continue to do so from time to time.
Dehi and Njok have experienced the hormonal changes differently.
Personally, I didn't have any problems and my body remained intact. It's as if I was 30. I don't feel anything for now.
When you have a woman, a wife, when you are a man worthy of that name, it is inconvenient. When you are hungry, so to speak, you have to eat. The sexual appetite does not disappear and needs to be fed.
For Emmanuel Jules Ntap in Yaoundé, Michelle Joseph, VOA.
Robotic surgery is revolutionizing the medical industry in Africa, with the first procedure performed in Cape Town, South Africa, 2 years ago. However, there are still concerns around the risks, accessibility, and the costs.
At Urology Hospital in Pretoria, robotics is bringing the latest invention in surgery to African patients. Dr. Gabo Ijani, South Africa's first black robotic surgeon, says while good results are always desirable, the procedure is more critical in creating the desired outcome.
The whole world has moved to a point where we say if you're going to do surgery, minimum invasive surgery is the option when available. It must be used and then other things will come later.
Dr. Ijane says this surgical robotic system offers improved safety, speed, and better patient outcome. Despite the ongoing robotic revolution and the growing number of robotic-assisted procedures globally, there is very limited access to this technology in Africa.
Sadly, it's not that accessible yet, and it's mainly a cost issue. It is American-based technology. The system that is currently available, there are new systems and platforms coming out, and possibly 5 or 6 robotic platforms that will be launched in the next 2 to 3 years, which is a good thing because that means competition will bring prices down and hopefully then it will become more accessible.
The demand and scarcity for robotics has seen patients from many parts of the African continent flocking into South Africa for these procedures.
From the SADC region and outside the SADC region, in particular from Botswana, Angola, Mozambique, we've done a sizable number of robotic operations for patients coming from that area, both for the prostate and for other, because we also use it for kidney work at the urology hospital.
While the market is starting to show signs of development, There are some challenges such as high costs associated with system errors and unstable power supply. In addition, observers say public health does not receive adequate funding in many African countries.
Ideally, one would like to see it being able to be accessed in all African countries, but it's not the sort of technology you can afford to have in every hospital. But there should be centers of excellence in most of the countries that can draw patients to them, you know.
It's here to stay. It might modify a little bit, it's going to become a little bit cheaper, and it's going to become a little bit more affordable. But I think it's just a matter of time. This is here to stay.
In Africa, it is hoped that as more manufacturers of robotic surgical systems enter the marketplace, it will spur the development of a new generation of surgical robots that are cheaper, competitive, and deployable for use in developing countries. Noluvuyo Kunge for VOA News, Pretoria, South Africa.
A 14-year-old Ethiopian-born American in the U.S. state of Virginia has won the 3M Young Scientist Challenge, an annual science competition for U.S. students in grades 5 through 8. VOA's Eden Geremius recently spoke with the winner in Fairfax County, Virginia, in this report narrated by Salem Solomon.
Heman Bekele says that he has always been passionate about problem solving. That curiosity has earned the Ethiopian-born American teen the grand prize and $25,000 in cash in this year's 3M Young Scientist Challenge, a competition for U.S. students enrolled in 5th through 8th grade. Heman entered a bar soap that could fight a type of cancer known as melanoma.
Yeah, I've always been really passionate about just finding solutions that aren't just really great from a science perspective, but are also accessible to as many people as possible. And for a disease like skin cancer, where cures already exist in the field, the only issue is that those cures aren't accessible to everyone.
Heman's soap is still being tested for its effectiveness, but it works by activating special cells called dendritic cells that help the body fight skin cancer.
Well, I tried to come up with a solution that was not only great from a science perspective that could work, but then at the same time was also affordable and accessible.
Heman's parents say that they didn't realize how important his project was until their son was shortlisted among the top 10 competitors. His father, Wendwasen Bekele, says they couldn't contain their excitement.
When he become like a top 10, I was really, we were so satisfied. And then when he become like the tops, we were so overwhelmed with his accomplishments. So we're still so happy for him.
His mother, Mulumebit Getachew, says he has always been curious as a child.
Heman likes to create. Since he was a child, he used to like to research things. He used to prefer playing with things he created instead of toys. He was social. He liked to play. He liked to talk and play with other people. He likes to read, but he also listens. He is a good listener.
Heman says his skin cancer treating soap must still get an approval from the U.S. Food and Drug Administration. When that happens, he hopes it can be made accessible to people in underserved and low-income communities.
Of course, there's a lot of work still left to get to that goal, but I hope that, like I was saying, by 2028, it'll turn into a nonprofit, and we'll have to see from there where it ends up.
The World Health Organization's cancer agency estimates that nearly 325,000 new cases of melanoma were diagnosed worldwide in 2020. Heman says all he wants to do is make people's lives a bit easier. For Eden Geremo in Fairfax County, Virginia, Salem Solomon, VOA News.
Thanks for watching Healthy Living. For the latest news and coverage, stay connected to Voice of America at voaafrica.com. You can follow me on X at Linochmudu. That's our show for today. Until next year, stay well and strive to make every day a healthy day.